angels willing to hold us in their arms. When our words of stone are ashes and we both passed on, let forever mean forever and carry on.
Good afternoon. Pardon me. And then I cough, right? Sorry about that. So, obviously, I'm disheveled and everything's as backwards and screwed up as it possibly can be. And, yeah. So, man, do I got a show for you. I don't know how long the monologue's going to be today. I have no idea. You have been warned. Today, if you would like, you could participate in a drinking game, and that should be warning enough right now if there are young ears. I'm pausing for you and the young ears. But today, and this is just going to be one of those shows, folks, I can't help that. Today we're going to have a drinking game. So I hope you all have your favorite beverage. Because every time Mike says fuck in any variation, any way, any form whatsoever, you get to take a drink. So it's going to be a hell of a drunken Monday for some of you. And I'm telling you. Getting frustrating. And I've got a couple of little notes here, but it's getting frustrating, and I'm starting to wonder if there's such a thing called Alex Jones syndrome. I really am, right? I'm starting to wonder about this because I feel like I'm slowly starting to edge more towards him. Now, I'm not at gay frogs yet, okay? I still don't understand the gay frogs thing, so I'm safe from the gay frogs, but I've got my own theory. I think these cocksuckers in the government, right, before they give us the documents that we always have, I think they put some shit on it, man. Yeah, right? And who knows? Maybe people could be throwing those documents into ponds and lakes and stuff, and it could be rubbing off on the frogs and making them gay. I don't know. But we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll find the damn documents. I know that. Sons of bitches. Anyway, so, this is going to be a bipolar episode, by the way. Just forewarning you. Got a couple of messages from the man for all of you. And I mean this in full seriousness, all jest aside. I got this message today to give to everybody. Don't just ask God to save you. Don't just go to Him when you're in a rut. And I know I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said 50 million times before, but I'm going to add to what has been said 50 million times before. This is something I do throughout my daily life, and it's such habit to me now. I don't even think about it, and I would hope, I would pray, literally, that you would all find yourselves in the same position as myself. Every day, all throughout the day, as I make decisions, I go to God with them. Because why not? Because why not? I make a lot of decisions in my life that sometimes can cause levels of turmoil, and that's fine. I've often said that I've given up way more over my principles, and I have. I've proven that here recently once again, completely departing from Poser Nurse 1. Completely. And if you didn't know, yeah. And eventually I will make a video of it that piece of shit isn't a priority to me. So whenever I get to that piece of shit, I'll make a video on him. And I'll explain what went on and why I had had enough. So, different video, different time. But be a part of his daily life. Even when I make, buying decisions, purchasing decisions, I bring him in on it. Everything. I mean, I don't bother him with things like, how should I wipe my butt this time? But, things a little beyond that. Go to him. Go to him. Yeah, he has guided me on so much. And like I say, it's just a habit. I just do it. And I don't even think about it. So it was put on my heart today that I needed to point that out. So I did. I want to talk about one other thing biblically related. This isn't going to be a biblical show. But just something interesting of note. One of the verses that's often talked about contains the words ethnos versus ethnos, or ethnos against ethnos. Nation will rise against nation. Most of you have heard this. And it sounds like nation against nation. Are we sure about that? Are we sure it's not ethnicities, races will rise against each other? Are we positive of that? Because I'm not. I'm not. At all. And there was a period of time in my life that I would have told you otherwise. Not with what I see today. I'm going to talk about that. That's going to be what my monologue is about. It's going to be a good one. I've actually gotten my first Facebook ban. I did. I'm in Facebook jail for 24 hours, and we're going to cover that. Oddly enough, right? Oddly enough, Trump said something very, very similar today that I did that I got banned for. But he didn't. Well, not that I expected. You know what I mean. It's ridiculous. Let me get to that. Let me go ahead and let me just run over the normal stuff. I'll do the COVID numbers later and all that. Let me just run over the normal stuff real quick. Then I'll get into that. Before I even get into that, I'm going to tell you about our excursion on the bicycles that we had Saturday. So that is definitely an interesting debacle. It's been a hell of a weekend, I'm telling you, and the Monday's not shaping up any better. So real quick, let me run through the normal stuff. Amazon affiliate, this is for last month, so they're still showing the last month numbers. Not real huge, 1301, so not a big deal. This month it was like 73 something or another, and I've got to be honest, this month's affiliate didn't go towards something to review. I mean, I really don't want to review it. Don't make me review it. But this month's affiliate money, I was in need for underwear, new socks, and and I had to replace the bag on my bike that holds the motor controller, because the motor controller that I got is larger, and the bag that I had didn't have one, so I spent $10 on a bag for the motor controller. But anyway, yeah, underwear and socks are expensive as hell. What the hell, man? I just want to cover my nads and my toes, man. Just cut me some slack, right? But anyway, yeah, so that's where this month's affiliate went. I wanted to be honest with you about it. Normally it goes towards something show related or something to review for the show. And I could talk about the feeling of my nads hanging in the underwear. And do you really want me to go there? No? Okay. I love you guys. Those of you that are still here. So anyway, thank you for participating. For those that I haven't ran off already, we're an Amazon affiliate. We've got a link in the description of the videos, as well as at the watchmannews.com right there. You click that link and it just takes you to Amazon. But once you make purchases, those items, they don't cost you anymore, but it gives us credit for the sale and throws a little bit our way. So every little bit adds up, and it's much, much appreciated. So the other way you can help out, if you so choose, is our PayPal donate link. That is in the description. There's a link down there, as well as at the watchmannews.com in the main menu there. Just takes you to our PayPal donate page. You don't have to have a PayPal account. You can do so as a guest with a debit or a credit card. But I always let people know so they're not confused. It says Transforming Disabilities up top and purpose the Watchman News donation. That way you know you're in the right place. Okay, all that out of there. Gone. See ya. Now, so let's get to the bike thing. So, as you know, I had to replace Jen's throttle on her bike. Mission successful. Replaced the throttle. Then the motor controller went craps, right? So I got a motor controller. I actually put my old motor controller in her bike because it's got the safety switches for the brakes. Okay, the new motor controller I got doesn't have that. I would rather her have the safety features. And so anyway... check. Everything's working. So Saturday, there's a little place here called Tropical Snow. They make like shaved ice, you know, and so Jen had never had a tropical snow, and it's not very far from here. And I thought, well, we'll take the bikes for a cruise, and we'll go to Tropical Snow. So we did, and on the way back, we got right to the end of the alley, and her bike just wouldn't go anymore. And so I wound up having to push it up the rest of the way to the house. Her batteries are now shot. So this has been insane just trying to get her bike in order. But I do have to say this. Those batteries are 3 years old. They're lead acid batteries. They are cheap lead acid batteries. They're the cheapest batteries I could find. Okay? And even though that they've had a trickle charger kept on them and they've been maintained as properly as what I can, 3 years, you know, the other thing you have to understand is they are lead acid batteries. Okay? Lead acid, you don't want to drain any beyond 50%. Okay? In an e-bike, if you ride it for very long at all, you are going to start hitting below that 50% and starting to cause that extra deterioration of the plates in that battery. So, yeah, 3 years, I'm not going to complain. You know, that was $140 worth of batteries. So, when we bought them, they're a little more expensive now. So, I've been pricing them because we got to replace them sometime. So, I'd actually like her to go Li-ion. I've been wanting that the entire time. But about the cheapest I can go Li-ion, something that's already built, about $300. They're not cheap. So we'll get there. You know, whatever. We'll get there. But anyway, so it's the bike itself, as far as the rest of it's working fine, which is great. Mine's working flawless. I've not had any issues with mine. I've not had any issues. It's been all been on hers. But and luckily though, it hasn't been. Luckily, it's not the wheel. The hub, so that's the big thing. But motor controllers, you know, that motor controller, that was like $50, just over $50 for the motor controllers. The throttle, I think, was, I don't know, 14, something like that. So that stuff isn't too bad, you know. Unfortunately, you can't just get, I don't think you can just get the hub motor. You might be able to, but then you're respoking it and the whole nine. Yeah, it's a nightmare. And the wheel kits have went up. by the way. They used to be about $150. Now they're just a little over $200 on average for the same wheel kit, like she's got on, well, like we both have on our bikes. So, yeah, interesting. So, yeah, that's what went on this weekend. That's pretty much it. I spent a lot of time working on her bike. Her lighting, everything, her bike computer's on there, her lighting's all hooked up, her bike is done. Other than now needing a new set of batteries, her bike is done. So, good deal. Trying to think if there's anything else worthy over the weekend to mention. I've been watching the riots, protests, whatever you want to label them. It's both. It's everything all thrown in. Been watching a lot of that. Been getting a lot of social media debate. Been getting Facebook jailed over said debate. Yeah.
Is there a picture?
Of the bikes?
Yeah.
Who did I just post a picture of the bike to the other day? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was just yours.
Yeah.
I've got mine somewhere. A picture of mine, not a real recent one, but I'll have to dig them up. Let me dig. Actually, instead of digging them up, let me just take a new picture. I can't show it right now, but let me just take some new pictures, because I actually don't. I do have almost a new picture of Jen's bike, but the wiring wasn't hooked up yet. So let me just get pictures of them, and I'll show them at a different time. But nonetheless, yeah, that's what I've been up to. And then, like I say, that's the whole social media debacle, and it's just about me. I could give a damn less about Facebook and the 24-hour ban. I don't care. I don't. What I am seeing is disgusting. Disgusting. Right? You know how many people that I was proud of because they went beyond their normal. Will you answer her, by the way? We don't have one. Oh, are you talking to her?
No.
Oh. So, anyway, people that, for once, seen what is going on in this country, and for the first time, speaking out against it. All of a sudden, because of the riots, fell right back in line. Because of the riots. George Floyd is not rioting. He's dead. He's not rioting. He's not doing a fucking thing ever again. For his children, for his loved ones, for anybody. Because he's fucking dead! And we forget that? Because of the lack of self-control of others. That was short-lived. These, by the way, are the same people, right, a week ago, talking about COVID-19 revolution, burning effigies of governors. And today, all you can hear them say, look at them animals break curfew. Look at them break curfew. I was actually called a domestic terrorist. Guy by the name of Vince Dykeman. Went to school with him. Yeah, I'll call you out, Vince. Piece of shit. Called me a domestic terrorist. And then called me a meth head. Why? Because I was exposing his racism and I was rubbing his shitty nose in it. Because I asked him, how come white people don't stand up for themselves? How come they allow their children to get molested in churches, beaten to a pulp by school resource officers? They do nothing. They don't even fucking protest. They won't even show up at the fucking school half the time. They won't do nothing about the churches. They won't do shit. And when somebody else has the balls to stand up, they bring them down because they are weak pieces of shit. They may be weak, I'm not. I've been fucking beaten and battered and abused and put down and lied about all my fucking life. Bring it the fuck on. Bring it on. I may not physically have shit left in me, but mentally, bring it on. Hate me for telling the truth. Hate me for being a righteous man. It empowers me more. People don't get it. They don't get it. When you try to speak out about it, you get muted. What I just said to you is what I got Facebook banned for. I had said white people are the only ones that continually lie to and bullshit themselves about their role in society. They are the biggest slaves because they enslave themselves. They won't speak out about their own children getting killed and molested, and they can't stand when others do it. They are weak. That's not okay. I'm white, if you didn't know, by the way. I'm not an African American. I'm not a Hispanic person calling I'm white. Like, as in, Jen calls me Casper White. Okay. Trump called the governors facing unrest weak and fools today. I wonder if he's going to be banned from whatever the NBC News. All right. This, by the way, is where the conversation was had. And I just want to make a point. We will be playing this video too during the monologue here very momentarily. For those that don't know, that is the face of Jeanette Finicum, a very well-loved and respected person among our community. So I posted this, and I had put, if you call yourself a patriot, cannot hear the words Jeanette Finicum is saying, then you are deaf, and you are no patriot. R.I.P. Lavoy Finicum, R.I.P. George Floyd, both good men murdered by public servants, but folks don't have a reason to be outraged. They aren't changing anything. They aren't making a violent epidemic against citizens, or they are making it even worse and declaring less and less accountability. Can you not see this? It isn't about color. It's about human life. Stop shredding our Constitution and basic humanity. So, and then I commented, because I've been on a roll, stop with the bullshit white people solutions like town committees. How well has that worked out for Ferguson? How much has it really changed? Word on the street is it got worse. The goal is results. How do we get results? I'm open for suggestions, but I know what history shows. I'm just not in denial of it. I know what history shows. I get it. I can't help it. I'm not doing any of this. It's not my fault. The fact that I'm just fucking pointing things out doesn't mean I'm the one doing it. I'm sitting in my chair in my living room. I don't understand people, and I'm referring to the wannabe man Vince. I don't get it. I'm sitting in my living room, trying to point out things, trying to help people get a step ahead and stay a step ahead of what's coming. Because we're preppers, because we're not fucking idiots that just look to today, Vince. Because we got a fucking clue. Because we're educated. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Domestic terrorist. You know why I think he calls me a domestic terrorist now? I think it was because of a suggestion I made. And think about this. I said, if you want to stop the riots, and I'm speaking verbatim, I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but if you want to stop the riots, hand the cop over. Hand him over. Hand the cop over to the mob, and then sentence the other cops to life in prison without possibility of parole. And I guarantee you the rioting would stop immediately. Instantly. Boom. Turn off like a switch. I think that is why he calls me a domestic terrorist. I'm not sure. He's making shit up. So, whatever. He's one of those. An extremist conservative. But anyway, as I was going to point out, I'm sorry, I got off on a little tangent there. So it's funny because where I had said that was right here. And I said, and they can't stand me telling the truth. It eats them alive. So I fucking say it louder. Okay? So this Facebook, you may not allow me to say it. And YouTube may pull down me from saying it. But I'll keep fucking saying it louder. Louder. Why? Why? What is my goal? This is one of the things Vince the dumbass, was trying to tell me what I'm trying to achieve, right? He thinks I'm trying to incite violence, right? No. No. I want everybody to be free, man. Everybody. Not just you and your fucking friends. Everybody to be free. That is my goal. My goal is that nobody is oppressed. My goal is that if you have an idea and you want to start a business, you start that business. Ain't nobody else's fucking business. It's your business. It's not the government's business. It's not anybody's business. It's your business. As long as you aren't screwing people over, it remains your business. Because that's how our founding fathers founded this country. And I'm the fucking domestic terrorist? You communist? Really? Really? You fucking communist? Calling me a domestic terrorist? Because I hold constitutional values and I think our nation needs to return back to them. This is why you don't play the partisan game, folks. Because both sides are so far out from reality, it's unreal. And they're getting further and further and further out every election cycle. So quit playing their game. Call them out. The only way we're going to fix this stuff. Ain't nothing ever going to get fixed by ignoring it. Ever. That's some type of entitlement bullshit mindset to think that something's just going to fix itself. I mean, come on. We've all had that TV back in the day, right? The screen gets all funny, right? So you get up and you smack the fuck out of it, right? The TV come back on fine. You sit back down, everything's good for a few hours. Not saying anything by that. Not trying to mention any kind of, just saying, right? It's the way old TVs were. And some people. But we're not talking about that. Unbelievable. People have lost their minds. Before we get into the COVID numbers and all that good stuff, I do want to play this video from Jeanette. I think she did a very good job. She's always very well spoken. And she has always got a platform to speak with us. Always. So, here's Jeanette Finicum. The video titled, "Freedom Has No Color. Freedom is Colorblind." That's a quote from Lavoie.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have been wanting to make a post for the last couple of days. In my heart has been pushed to make a post in reference to what is happening throughout this country and watching the looting and rioting happen. It has been heartbreaking to see our country at odds like this and to see the turmoil that we're in. I first want to start off by sending my condolences to the George Floyd family. I am truly, truly sorry for your loss, and our family grieves with you. We totally understand where you are at and how you are feeling at this moment. And our prayers and our love are with you in the healing process as you begin to go through that. It has stirred a lot of emotions inside of me to watch this and to watch the differences of outcome and reaction to what happened to my husband, who was murdered 4 years ago with his hands in the air, shot 3 times in the back by police officers. And so I hope that you will bear with me as I try to express my feelings here. What I have watched throughout the country over the last little bit, and as my eyes have been opened, is the differences in how things are portrayed by the media and whether or not we are in whether we're justified in our feelings or not. And what happened up in Oregon was an example of a peaceful demonstration, People were wanting to have their voices heard. We were talking about the Constitution, about the system of government in which our founders put in place for each of us to protect us from this type of tyranny that we're watching now here in America. It was a demonstration to bring to light about property rights and about what was happening to ranchers and farmers and private landowners here in the West. They felt that they needed to stand up and have their voices heard, and they were doing so in a peaceful manner. Yet they were labeled and lynched, and I will say that whether the media likes it or not, they were labeled and then lynched through the media with the words that they were being described by the media: terrorist, white supremacist, racist, all of which was not true. These men and women who were standing of all color that day, those days up in Oregon, they weren't racist, they weren't militia. They were people who were concerned about our country and about the direction it was heading and about tyranny. And they were standing for the Constitution and for the principles that our founders had instilled in this document. And as I'm watching what's happening with the demonstrations in reference to the murder of George Floyd, because he was truly murdered by a police officer, and this is another thing that is just astounding to me as a human being. How do we get to the point where we murder another individual, another human being, and not feel anything about it? That officer clearly was past feeling. He was past feeling. He had no empathy or sympathy. He had no care for what he was doing to that human individual there. And he took his life. And in my case, when my husband was murdered, what was sad to see was the response of people, of law enforcement. Good riddance. He deserved to die. Who says that? Who says that to someone when they've just lost their loved one? Who feels that way? Who does that? And these police officers went out and celebrated my husband's death, drinking and yucking it up. So I feel for you and your family. I totally understand where you're at. These officers are, well, let me back up. There are officers throughout this country, nationwide, as one young woman was putting it, nationwide, there are officers who are in need of reform, need to be fired because they have no business serving on the force. But there are hundreds of thousands of other police officers, men and women, serving in these different capacities that are trying to do a good job. But our problem has been is that we have not held these bad officers, the bad FBI, the people that are creating and perpetrating these acts upon the American people. We're not holding them accountable. They have, what is it called? Legal immunity. Thank goodness the Supreme Court can be pushed at this point now to look at legal immunity for police officers. There should be no legal immunity. There should be a process that they have to go through too when they kill another human being, and they need to be held accountable because it is happening all too frequently. They kill first and ask questions later. They don't revere the process of due process of our rights, of our right for a trial before a jury. They're not honoring that anymore. They're killing and asking questions later. This is not the system the government, our founders put together for us, we the people in this country. This is not how it is supposed to be. We are innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. George Floyd would be here today had he been presumed innocent and had an officer dealing with him who understood the constitutional law, that this man should be maybe arrested and then looked at and it be investigated, and he should have a trial and go through that whole process before snuffing out his life. You know, I watched 2 or 3 years ago this horrific video of a beautiful young man named Andrew Kearns in New York City, and his life being snuffed out because of another officer that was past feeling, that cared nothing for that human being in his squad car, as he was begging for his life, like George Floyd, begging for his life. And the officer did nothing, and they laughed and joked. This has got to stop. But let me also say, people, that this is not just happening to the African American society. This is happening to every walk of life across America. If you get in the crosshairs, they're not being held responsible. They're not being held accountable. There is no accountability for these officers. There's been no accountability for the people in the FBI, Comey's FBI. We have watched the last 4 years how Comey's FBI, Obama's FBI has gotten away with just short of murder. The president has been dealing with this nonstop. What are we going to do? How do we do it? How do we do it? We have to become informed. Rioting and looting and burning up businesses and private homes and destroying property and beating individuals, innocent people up. That is not how you change the system. That's not how you get reform. That is not. You are playing right into their hands, showing the elite that is trying to, the ruling class, the ones that think that we can't think for ourselves, you're playing right into their hands. Because now, of course, because we're out there looting and burning down streets and rioting, we can't possibly make an informed decision or make wise choices. So they'll bring in more armed guards, more police, more restrictions. I don't know how else better to say it. I'm not the one. A great teacher I have had the privilege of traveling with for 2 years, Mark Herr, with Center for Self-Governance. Take his class. Understand the levels of government. Understand how they operate. Understand how to preserve those 7 layers of government that the founders put in place here in this country, this free country. Barely free country. Let me just rephrase that, because as we're watching this chaos erupt across every city in America, it is no longer about George Floyd. When you have pallets of bricks being delivered to a protest, who is really in charge here? Who is really pushing this protest and these riots? Is it not the anarchists and the communists that hate our country to begin with? Is it not the likes of George Soros, who's willing to put the money in the pockets of all of these individuals that are out of work and have been trapped in their homes for the last, how many months for this pandemic, contrived pandemic? There are evil forces at work here. And we recognize them. I recognize them. My eyes have been clearly opened these last 4.5 years. I pray that we get on our knees and pray for the God Almighty to help us and to bless this country and to help this country and to help bring peace and civility once again. And for those of you who are really interested in trying to save this country, let's understand how it works and let's go to work in preserving this Constitution, preserving this country in which is been given to us, I believe, by God, and help us to hold those bad actors in the police department, in the FBI, across the board, hold them accountable. If there is never any accountability, there will be another George Floyd, another Andrew Kearns, another Lavoy Finicum, and he was murdered, shot 3 times in the back with his hands in the air, without a trial, without due process, without any real justice, and we are still fighting for that 4.5 years later. I pray that we will all have common sense and have cool heads and to really look at what's happening. I pray that we will get to work to hold these people accountable. And let me just end by saying, thank you for letting me rant. I have been brought to tears many times watching this and watching how a whole country is in arms over this murder. Yet it really is, they're in arms for something much, much more. They hate this country. They want to destroy this country. They're hurting the very people that they profess to want to help. And so, please find a way to stand up and to hold the real people accountable. Let's get behind the Supreme Court and let's get behind their investigation into legal immunity for police. Let's have that overturned. Let's hold the law enforcement accountable for the illegal behaviors. It has to start there. We cannot have trust. We cannot have mutual respect unless it is the same for every American. And let's remember something that my sweet husband used to say. He used to say that freedom has no color. Freedom is colorblind. And that is how God sees each of us. We are his children, all of us. Freedom has no color. Freedom is colorblind. May each of you have a peaceful Sabbath. May each of you find peace within your homes and within your communities. And may you be a force for change, for good in your circle of influence. God bless you. God bless this country. God bless America. God bless each and every single one of you. I love you. Thank you.
I mean, it doesn't get much better said than that. I mean, if anybody has a fuller to speak on the matter, it's her. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, and the sad thing is, here's the part that really gets me. You know, she's still fighting that system to try to get justice for the murder of LaVoy. The same crooked system. Do you understand this? Right? The system is broken. There's only one way to fix this. Replace the system. I don't mean replace it as in replace the system itself, but replace the people within the system that is perverting it and using it to destroy the citizenry of this country. Oh, fuck, there I go. I'm a domestic terrorist again. Jeez. Man. Unbelievable. Okay, let's do some coronavirus numbers. I have a shit ton of headlines because I will be covering Saturday and Sunday's headlines because of everything going on. Man, there's a lot going on. So anyway, real quick, don't know why that's doing that, but whatever. Okay. So global. Oh, and by the way, when it comes to coronavirus, you know, I've already started seeing the memes of people, oh, well, coronavirus must disappear with riots and blah, 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 blah. Wait 3 weeks, idiots. There's this thing called incubation period. Yeah, it's a thing. And it's pretty much certain, you know? And it's not 2 hours. So, give it 3 weeks. Let's see what happens. See what happens. And that, by the way, will explain to people whether or not COVID-19 was real or some imaginary made-up thing made by the reptilian overlords with all the documents, the ones that are coding the documents, that's making the frogs gay, and that's doing all of this to us, right? Making us talk like this. If I ever get like that, beat me to death with something, right? Come in, get my loose leaf notebook, and just beat me to death, right? If I... Alright, let's do this, right? Global, total confirmed cases, 6,226,409. Active cases, 3,180,821. That's up 31,801. Recovered cases, 2,671,705. That is up 70,839. Fatal cases, 373,883. That is up 3,029. Pardon me. United States. Total confirmed. 1,835,300. Active. 1,321,574. That is up 7,266. Recovered cases, 407,628. That is up 10,683. Fatal cases, 106,098. That is up 593. Another low number for today. I'd like to see 0, but the lower that we can get it, we'll take. You know? Man, I can't wait until that's 0 for good. Gonna be a while. I had talked about the second wave before, and I talked about how it was undoubtedly going to be worse. and that I thought maybe it would be August-ish that we were looking at. Probably late August is where I was looking at. It might be sooner. It might be sooner. This is a perfect storm. All of it. All of it. All of it. Not just the coronavirus, not just the riots, but the what looks to be imminent war on our doorstep. A lot going on. A lot going on. Locally, haven't checked the number here. We are still at 13. So that's just for our zip code here. Hey, it's my show. I can post how many we have. I don't know why I do it. I just do. Okay? Yeah, I do and when I do it, I'm like, well, why are you fucking special? Why is your zip code special? Why aren't you posting everybody's zip codes and numbers? And I would if it were easy, but all the individual states have their own, so anyway, let's do some headlines, shall we? Now we're starting from Saturday, so please remember that. Pentagon reportedly puts military police on alert to provide assistance in Minneapolis. 150 plus arrested after protesters torch police cruiser and break into precinct in Brooklyn. Watch protests, and again, still on Saturday, watch protesters return and face off with riot police at White House after causing a lockdown. And folks, there's quite a few, so we'll be on Saturday for a little while, so buckle up. Georgia calls in National Guard after protests in Atlanta descend into chaos with looting and arson. Pentagon puts military police on alert to provide assistance to Minneapolis amid riots, says reports. Again, Saturday. Watch mob of protesters surrounding and shouting down Fox News reporter outside embattled White House. Police report fatal shooting as roaring unrest escalates in Detroit. Again, Saturday. Denver rioters smash windows of Colorado Supreme Court. CNN crew terminates live coverage as explosive thrown into network's headquarters in Atlanta. Again, Saturday. Justice Center housing Portland Sheriff's Office set on fire by rioters. I'm getting shot. Police fire pepper balls at TV reporter and crew during Louisville protests. Or Louisville, if you're from there. Yeah, and we've got other reports, man. I'm telling you what, this with reporters is ridiculous. U.S. may, and again, still Saturday, U.S. may introduce new sanctions against Russia's Nord Stream 2 as gas project approaches final stage. Let's see. Are white supremacists causing mayhem in Minneapolis? Minnesota governor says yes, citing unconfirmed reports and suspicions. Well, let me tell you something. There is a video. You know, sometimes there are videos. And sometimes videos show you things. And on those videos...
Minneapolis, 3rd Precinct. That's the police station right there. That's why I'm doing this shit, guys. What the... I ain't got part of that shit.
This isn't going to be one of them. Anyway, there's good close-up pictures of this cat. Anybody want to take a guess at his race, the color of his skin anyway?
I zoomed in. I'll zoom out a little bit. Those cops will come for you if you're pulling that crap.
Looks like, yeah. So as you can see, the auto goes.
Guy just came with a hammer and smashed the windows.
I'm gonna fight you right now. You wanna go? What's up? Somebody hold my blunt. Hey, somebody.
Can anybody tell me what the skin color of that gentleman is? Anybody? I can't tell. I can't tell. I have no idea. And maybe if we zoom it in a little bit here, we can tell. I don't know. I don't know. It's a close call. Close call. Governments, for a long time, have put people in positions to do jobs to instigate reaction. The whole fucking purpose of the CIA. If I'm not mistaken. But the racists are going to take the easy way out. Watch looters ransacks Louis Vuitton police headquarters and smash banks as Portland erupts in protest against Saturday. Would U.S. shoot itself in the foot in imposing sanctions over Hong Kong? Oh. Why did I share that headline? I don't know for sure why I shared that. Usually I try not to share headlines that don't have an actual statement. I thought this was interesting. Watch traditionalist Amish people protest in Minneapolis. Peacefully, of course. Very interesting. I would say they were probably Mennonite, to be honest. And I would not have attached that word traditionalist Amish people, because there's an issue with that, and you're looking at it. You're looking right at the issue with a traditional Amish person. A picture. So I don't believe that they are actual traditional Amish. I believe they're an offshoot like the Mennonites, as an example, because you're looking at a picture of them. Okay, it's just a thing with them. I don't completely understand that. Some religious beliefs are that way as well. I completely respect it. Whatever the reason, they don't have to explain themselves to me. If God tells you not to be in an image, well, then fine. Just please let me know, and I'll do my best not to put you in an image. So, kind of a little thing called respect. Pageant queen wife seeks divorce from Minneapolis cop charged with murder of George Floyd. Yes, his wife is seeking divorce because he's such a great guy. Wait, what? Child soldiers, anger and confusion over videos allegedly showing kids in riot gear guarding Atlanta's streets. Unreal. Trump hails Secret Service's vicious dogs and ominous weapons ready to push back White House protesters. That was on Saturday. We're still on Saturday. Got a long way to go. Officer dies from injuries after being shot during Oakland protests, and it says a police statement. Aviation industry better brace for long-haul recovery as air traffic won't pick up until 2020, S&P says. Russian bill sets forth penalties for some who refuse compulsory vaccination. National Guard to be fully mobilized in Minnesota as governor brands George Floyd protests attack on civil society. This is, again, Saturday. Nothing else we can do to let our voices be heard. Protesters say violent riots the only way to get George Floyd justice. AI to choose your news. Microsoft to get rid of journalists and replace them with robots. How do you like them apples? U.S. has deadliest police culture in modern world. They only know incarceration and brutality, says the co-counsel of the George Floyd family. I would agree. I can't believe I fought to defend you. Navy SEAL who shot bin Laden unloads on politically funded terrorists and coward cops. College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta vandalized, looted amid protest at George Floyd death. Again, Saturday. Trump blames violent protest on Antifa and radical left, says they have little to do with George Floyd's death. SpaceX Falcon rocket launches 2 NASA astronauts into space, again Saturday. Get tougher with protesters or federal government sends military. Trump warns liberal governors and mayors. Posse comitatus. Posse comitatus. Oh, it's a heavy metal song back from the day. Posse comitatus. You heard it, right? From a band called Forefather, right? Posse comitatus. It's a great song. Let's see here. Just like in Ferguson, AG Bar, Minnesota officials blame outside radicals and agitators for violent protests. Massive rallies block roads in Los Angeles as anti-police brutality protesters demand justice for George Floyd. Again, Saturday news. Protester clash with police outside White House, Saturday. And Sunday, but we'll get there. Police cars set ablaze near Philadelphia City Hall as protests erupt in violence and vandalism. Will Saturday ever be over with? Watch protesters attack InfoWars battle tank at Black Lives Matter rally in Texas. I can not condemn them. Los Angeles declares curfew as George Floyd protest descends into chaos. Riot police fire tear gas at protesters outside Miami Police Department. Utah calls in National Guard, declares curfew as Salt Lake City protests spiral out of control. Most arrested Minneapolis rioters are locals. Jail logs show contradicting claim of 80% out-of-state provocateurs. Liars. I don't mean this. I mean the people that were running around saying, oh, they're busting them in, blah, 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 blah. You know, all these conspiracy theories of reptilian overlords with the documents. You know, people are pissed. It's human nature. When you just snuff out a human life, sometimes it pisses people off. There's your conspiracy. D.C. National Guard rolls in amid standoff with protesters outside White House again Saturday. And now we're to Sunday. Yay! We made it to Sunday. 7 officers hurt after Ferguson protesters hurl rocks and fireworks at police. It was nasty. We were watching live streams of it and stuff. It was ugly. Tear gas and flashbangs outside Colorado State Capitol as protesters defy Denver curfew. Again, Sunday. Driver pulls bow and arrow on protesters blocking road in Salt Lake City. Now get this, right? This guy, he was, I don't know if it's in here or not. He did go on mainstream media and and he said, on mainstream media, he said that all he did was, I think, roll down his window or something and say all lives matter, and the protesters started beating him through the window of the car, I think is what his statement was or whatever. But there's video of him getting out of the car with a bow and arrow, right? So he gets out of the car with a bow and arrow, gets swarmed by protesters, they kick the shit out of him, and then he goes on mainstream media and makes up a story about how he rolls down his window and says all lives matter, and they attack him. Really? White people are weak. Don't like it? Change it. I don't want to be weak. I want to defend our dead children. I want to defend our molested children. I want to defend our abused children, our starving children, our homeless children. What the fuck is the matter with you? Why don't you want to defend them? What makes it a difference because they're white? Why can we not defend them because they're white? That's the most fucking enslaved mindset that I've ever heard of. I won't be a part of it. Your life has value. Your children's lives have value. You're created by God. And He breathed life into you. That is not only what you are, but it is also your power. Don't let anybody take that from you. Ever. You're a child of God. Stand up like you are one. Rioter tries to loot AR-15 rifle from torched police car amid chaos in Seattle. Light 'em up. Watch National Guard patrol residential area in Minneapolis and shoot paint at people on their own front porches. Again, Sunday News. Anonymous declares war on Minneapolis police in video message attributed to hacker group. An eye for an eye. Enraged protesters violently drag and toss cop in Chicago amid George Floyd protests. I'm telling you, these protests slash, riots, whatever label you want to put on them, they are on a level that I have never ever seen before ever in my life. They are on a level past Hong Kong. I'm telling you. Some of these folks are out there out for blood. Serious. They're not playing. They're not playing. This is different. This is a whole different level than I've ever seen before. And again, I'm reporting it. I actually get attacked for reporting things. I'm just reporting it. You hang gays and stone women. Pompeo awkwardly fights back as Iran's Zarif speaks out against racism amid George Floyd riots. The bigger D contest, right? Gonna see whether it's Lavrov or Pompeo. Anybody want to take any bets? Who's got the bigger D? Do we gotta wait for the Pornhub footage or? Anyway, moving along. You. It is coming. He is. I suppose I could. Yeah, I have no problem with that. Let me get through this and maybe I can shut the hell up before he comes on. And then, yeah, I have no problem putting him on. And if I can't shut up in time, we'll, back it up. U.S. government wants to sell multi-million-dollar Hong Kong property as it revokes city special status. NYPD police cruisers run into crowds of protesters in terrifying video. Yeah, there was a flaming bag thrown on the car. So I guess because there's a flaming bag thrown on your car, that gives you the license to just mow down innocent people. I'm not kidding. Both cars. It is unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. And there's people that will rush to defend what you just saw there. It's absolutely crazy. They will rush to defend what you just saw there. It's not who we are. County sheriff in Michigan joins march against police brutality. And as I always warn, be careful of these. Remember, and I'm not saying anything about this guy. I don't know him. But remember, county sheriff is the only elected law enforcement position. So they're the only ones that's in any position to have to lie to you to keep their job. Just remember that. Just remember that. I'm not saying anything about the sheriff. I don't know him. So please don't think I am. If he's for real, more power to him. And we need every sheriff in the United States to be like that. Let's see. It's going to be a war zone times 10. Minneapolis activist tells RT more violence lays ahead for city rocked by protests and riots. Again, Sunday News. NYPD scores a touchdown. Cops tackle and beat protester with batons as he celebrates on police van. Well, you know what? You were jumping on top of a police car. You probably should expect that they're going to beat you around a little bit, okay? There are some things we have to accept, okay? The other options, don't get fucking caught, all right? That's a plan. Don't get caught. Eye snatch. That doesn't sound good, does it? That just doesn't sound good. Eye snatch. Apple's new sex doll. Eye snatch. I'm sorry. Apple store looted during D.C. riots over George Floyd's killing. I'm going to hell. Russia to blame. MSM allegations that Moscow had a hand in U.S. Anti-police brutality riots entirely to be expected. Come on, give me that. It was good. Buy my products bloody. I'm not saying the word. Gonna beat the hell out of me. Amazon busy removing racial slur from its marketplace after online outrage. Folks, Amazon's not behind this. Don't attack Amazon. I can assure you Amazon's not behind that, right? And I can assure you that they will do everything they can to rectify the situation as quickly as possible. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if it happened from individual sellers. I don't know if it happened from a case of hacking. I don't know personally how it happened. I have no idea. But believe me, Amazon's not down with that, okay? Come on. Trump won't mobilize U.S. federal troops to quell George Floyd riots for now, says National Security Advisor. Again, this was Sunday. Dallas rioter savagely beat man to a pulp after he confronts them with a sword. Again, Sunday. I don't know if I just said Saturday on the other one. Sunday News. Folks, this is horrible. Okay, I believe this man died, if I'm not mistaken, from his injuries. That's horrible, right? Even if he didn't pass, it's horrible, okay? But let me give you a little bit of advice. Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't take a knife to a gunfight. You know, I'm sorry that this happened to the man. There are consequences to our decisions. Don't take a knife to a gunfight. Nigel Farage says Antifa fascists are hijacking the George Floyd protests in the U.S. So many conspiracies. Minneapolis residents unite to clean up streets after a night of destruction. Twitter turns its logo black amid George Floyd riots and adds hashtag Black Lives Matter to profile. U.S. photojournalist hit by non-lethal round and pushed to the ground by Minnesota police as camera keeps rolling. The guy clearly identified himself, had a badge and everything, right? You know, when I said, you know what I mean by badge, right? The credentials. I don't mean like a cop badge, but had credentials around his neck, the whole night. The guy identified himself multiple times as a reporter. He was looking for his producer because there were two of them there. It was him and his producer. They got separated because of the police action, right? They'd get arrested. Oh, well, they'll just straighten it out in court. Bullshit. I am so sick of hearing that. If you have to go to court, it's not a right, it's a privilege. You have to go and beg your master. Bullshit. First Amendment is a right, which was just violated by this dipshit that arrested him. Ridiculous. And I know there are people that defend that. It's ridiculous. They are begging. They just are begging for their constitution to be stripped away from them. And then calling themselves patriots. Ridiculous. India expels Pakistani embassy officials over spying. Unjustified cruelty. Moscow demands probe after Russian journalist pepper sprayed by Minneapolis police. Yeah, so now it's an international affair. Seriously. Which part of this can be, and I'm sure is, just government's tit for tat, bigger D thing going on here. But nonetheless. War on Antifa as Trump vows to declare it a terrorist group. AG Barr equates rioting to domestic terrorism. Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and just finish this up real quick, and then I'll just back up the Trump thing. I really don't want to split up all the headlines. Let's see. I did the video over the weekend on tools. Trump inflames the left, delights the right with terrorist threat for Antifa. Now, okay, we're to last night's news, so we're almost there. So, watch swarms of rioters destroy West Philadelphia neighborhood last night. Shops, Amazon trucks ransacked in Santa Monica as LA police and SWAT struggle to stop looting spree. That's last night. Flashbangs and tear gas in Washington, D.C. as crowds of protesters descend on the White House last night. There was a child inside. Rioters torched house and blocked firefighters. Richmond police chief says vowing arrests. Watch hundreds scatter in panic as speeding tanker truck plows into crowd of protesters on Minneapolis highway. And also, I don't think it was in my headlines, or I'm not sure if it will be or not, but in St. Louis, there was a FedEx truck. The driver drug a human being under the wheel of the FedEx truck for a considerable amount of distance. Now I understand the truck was being looted, the truck was being beat, and all of this stuff. I get that. I fully get that. I don't have any good answers. I don't have any good answers. But I do know you don't have to keep driving. If you're in fear for your life to the extent that you need to kill other human beings in order to preserve your well-being, and if you are in that position, so be it. Don't misunderstand me. Don't misunderstand me. So be it. But you don't have to keep driving and dragging the body along, do you? Do you? Who's next? Hundreds rally in London and Berlin to support George Floyd's death protest in U.S. Protesters tackle Antifa provocateur smashing pavement to throw at police during D.C. protests. Watch Minneapolis protesters block truck with their bodies, barely keep from lynching driver who plowed through crowd. That was from the other headline that I mentioned. That guy didn't fare so well, and he was arrested. Historic St. John's Church near White House set on fire as protests rage in Washington, D.C. Yeah, that driver got the hell beat out of him and got arrested. Rightfully so. Watch protesters deface and tear down Confederate statue in Birmingham, Alabama. This news is from what I shared out today. Of course, that happened last night, but we are on today's news. So, finally. Daughter of New York City Mayor de Blasio arrested at violent Manhattan protests, says reports. Master-level trolling. Iranian Foreign Ministry tweets U.S. protest photo with Rise Up Martin Luther King quote. Last tanker and Iranian flotilla reaches Venezuela, outmaneuvering U.S. sanctions. Like open target practice, U.S. activists recount being attacked by police during peaceful protests. Applause and cheers as Portland riot cops kneel in solidarity with anti-police brutality protesters. Again, be careful of public displays of bullshit. Iran will carry on sending more fuel to Venezuela if requested by Maduro government. America is chronically ill with racism, Beijing proclaims as George Floyd rallies blight U.S. cities. India's strict COVID-19 lockdown puts 122 million people out of work. Cops beat suspected looter caught inside Manhattan shoe store. The most promising drug against COVID-19 in the world, Avifavir, to be delivered to Russian hospitals in June. He was about peace. George Floyd's brother speaks out against riots, pleading, channel your anger elsewhere. Definitely white people. Rioters ransack Chicago Blackhawks store. Social media bizarrely affixes blame. Justice for Thaddeus, and I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Polish envoy enraged after D.C. protesters vandalized statue of national hero. And that's why I didn't even attempt to say the last name. I don't want to, disrespect it anyway. And I can't even come close. Saudi reserves plunge as kingdom struggles with COVID-19 pandemic and oil market rout. Violence was taught to us. We're tired of racism and injustice. BLM protesters reveal grievances as riots rage in D.C. One dead in Louisville after police and National Guard return fire on crowd. July 1 could be suitable date to hold nationwide vote on changes to Russia's constitution, says Putin. I'll tell you what, some of the stuff with Russia is starting to scare me about Russia. You'll see another headline here in a bit. Burn that shit down, not near my house. NBA reporter forced into humiliating U-turn over protest hypocrisy. Person killed in Louisville as police and troops return fire after shots from crowds. Same headline kind of as earlier, same story. Woman beaten with planks as she tries to defend store from looters. Again, folks, don't take a plank to a gunfight. D.C. blackout debunked. Panicked residents fear government crackdown after massive explosion heard in Washington, D.C. This is what I was talking about. Russia could jail adults for 10 years for encouraging youth to protest according to proposed legislation. So, if you as an adult would encourage your child to protest for their rights or for whatever, you could face 10 years in jail in Russia. Yeah. Putin, brother. You were doing good. Not anymore. China halts some American farm imports in growing rift with U.S. over Hong Kong. Trump tells governors to dominate rioters in scathing phone call, says a report. Russian media's muted coverage of U.S. riots. Sorry, America, the world doesn't revolve around you. I guess there's some propaganda going back and forth. And apparently Russia's kind of focusing on its own country and coronavirus, since that's a thing over there in their country that they're dealing with, not riots. And so, yeah, really, why all the propaganda? Unity of strength, Liverpool squad kneel at Anfield in tribute to George Floyd. Facebook rebellion, stop jumping. Zuckerberg alienates staff after refusing to censor Trump's warning to looters as Twitter hides its twin. And gives me a 24-hour ban. Washington to deploy additional federal assets across the U.S. as George Floyd riots continue. Trump slams governors as weak and urges crackdown on protests. Pretty much same thing. George Floyd died of homicide caused by asphyxia, says an autopsy. Now, this is the family autopsy. Who burned the homeless camp? Antifa and InfoWars play the blame game over Austin riots. I could see Alex doing something that bad just to try to spin something the direction he wants it. I could see it. He's a maniac. He's a lunatic. Cuomo announces NYC curfew, doubles NYPD presence as civil unrest continues. Police car runs into protesters in San Diego, drags man on the hood. That was the one where the car, I was telling you about, that there was a bag thrown on top of the car that was on fire. Yeah. Let's see. Rolling the tanks. Watch National Guard hit streets in D.C. amid reports Trump considering more active duty troops to quell unrest. And then Trump is addressing the nation. So let me close up the monologue and we will get to that. So bear with me just one more moment. For those here for the live show, stick around. We'll be live until 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. For those just here for the monologue or those watching the recording later on, thank you very much. As always, God bless you. We love you and be one with your spirit.